does Thomas Hobbes pick up from Machiavelli, and how is Hobbes' understanding of human nature alike and in some ways dissimilar from Machiavelli? Well, the first thing that Thomas Hobbes does that's in line with Machiavelli's accounting of human nature is he directs our attention away from God. He directs our attention away from the transcendent. He says at the beginning of his Leviathan, in the author's introduction, a very, very important line. He says that nature has been created by God. Humankind is like God, as humankind can practice its own art. And the art form of humankind is Leviathan that we create. Will be this monstrosity that we create to protect us from ourselves. So what Hobbes has done there is he's given us a four-part metaphysic at the beginning of his Leviathan. There is God. We're not going to talk about God that much in the Leviathan. There is nature, which God has created. There is that aspect of nature, human nature, that's the most interesting aspect of nature. Why? Because we as human beings, like God, are possible. It's possible for us, to create things, to create through art a world of our own. Much of what Hobbes will do will talk about who human beings are and then what we can do with our art. So, first lesson, who are we? What is man? Well, when Hobbes takes up the subject of what is man, he says the following. All men can understand one another by looking into their own hearts, by looking into their own persons. If you want to understand human nature, don't go to a book, don't go to the Bible, don't go to a work of philosophy. Just know thyself. Understand who you are as an individual and what moves you. And when you understand what moves you as an individual, you will understand what moves all of mankind. Well, why? Because there's no difference from one man to another. We are all created equal in a sense, but not equally good, not equally in the image of God, but equally caring for our own person. Which brings us to the second point that he makes. Is there a disparity in talent among mankind? And his answer is no. Both in our mind and our body, there's a great amount of equality. We all think ourselves capable of certain things. Here's a little difference between Hobbes' approach to the subject of human nature and the one given to us by Machiavelli. Machiavelli would talk of great men, and then he would talk of the people. He would talk of princes and people. And he would say princes want to rule over people. People just want to be led. But here Hobbes consolidates all of mankind into one grouping. We as human beings want the same thing. Now, does that produce a good account? And the answer is no. That produces instead a war of all against all. If we all think that we can aspire towards something, we're going to compete with one another, we're going to be different to one another, and we're going to want glory, more glory than the other. And this is going to change the state of affairs in the state of nature. This is going to make us not good beings, but beings that tend towards an ugly, nasty, brutish, and short competition with one another. So what is our way out of this state of nature? How do we remove ourselves from this state of war? If we're given perfect liberty by a law of liberty, what other laws condition human nature? So here, Hobbes introduces two laws. The first law, that we do nothing that is destructive of ourself. So here we have liberty, and we have the law that we do nothing destructive of ourself. And when you measure which one of these has the greatest pull upon us, it's going to be the first law of nature, whereby we do what? We then, moving to the second law of nature, seek peace through covenant with one another. Now note here, something interesting is going on in Thomas Hobbes' philosophy. The covenant that Thomas Hobbes speaks of, that will lead us out of the state of nature and lead us into civil society, will not be a Christian covenant. It will not be a covenant of love and peace with one another because we are Christ-like. It will be a covenant whereby, because we desire our self-preservation, because we don't want to die, we lend ourselves, we alienate our person to a greater power who will then keep the peace between us. So what's his theory of human nature? His theory of human nature goes like this. Human beings are static. They're all alike. They seek after their own self-preservation. The only way that we can accommodate for that part of human nature is to move into civil society and to hope under the Leviathan that the Leviathan can keep the peace. Thank you.